How's it going, everyone? Larry here with the Farmstead Way. I parked here on a hiking trail on our road, the one I actually do a lot of trail maintenance on, to make a video that I've been wanting to make for a while, and that is dealing with loneliness as far as relationships go. This is something I have an unfortunately extreme amount of experience with. I went through a really hard time in my late teens and early 20s, a really hard time with loneliness. And by the grace of God and his favor and blessing, I finally found my beautiful, gorgeous wife, and I got one of these. It sounds so dumb, maybe to some people, maybe not to other people, but I waited so long to hear that sound. I didn't want to screw around. I didn't want to have mindless girlfriends. I wanted to get married. And I knew since I was like 14, 15 years old, I just want to get married. Now, where does this all begin? Well, let's start from the beginning. In middle school, which you're a bunch of dumb little kids, I didn't have a girlfriend. I went through freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, no girlfriend. I went through 19, 20, 21, and part of me being 22, no girlfriend. Like I said, that sounds goofy to some, but you know how hard it was to go through high school not having someone? I helped out with the marching band. They called us Band-Aids because we just were roadies for the marching band. Because I play guitar, but I didn't know how to play any horn instrument or percussion. And you know how hard it is going to football game after high school football game and seeing all the other couples, if you want to call them that, at that age, walking around hand in hand, standing in the bleachers together, holding each other off on the sidelines, having to go through homecoming dances by myself because I didn't want to ask a girl out, because I knew, this sounds dumb, that I was going to get really emotionally attached to anyone that I put that kind of effort into. So I just spared myself the trouble. Going to movie theaters and seeing all the boyfriend and girlfriends and couples walking hand in hand in the theaters, having to sit through emotional relationship scenes, and barely, like I watched the Hunger Games, the first Hunger Games, and I almost didn't even make it through it because of the Katniss Peeta stuff. That sounds dumb, but that's how emotionally unstable I was back then. And like, sounds dumb, but like, even when like Breaking Dawn Part 2 came out, that was so hard to watch. Yes, I went and watched one of the Twilight movies in theaters. We all went as a group pack off. That was hard. Going into the cafeteria in high school and seeing all those people sitting together and me being by myself again, having to ride the freaking band bus by myself up into marching band things, having to ride the show choir bus by myself, having to watch all these people at all these dances and all this stuff by myself. Even in college, by myself. No one. It got to the point where I had a whole album on my phone of empty seats in front of me at restaurants, because I just, like I said in one of my other videos, I was really independent, and I would just go out to eat by myself. And I would take pictures of the empty seat in front of me and daydream about what it would be like to have someone sitting in front of that, and sitting in front of me and filling that seat. And yes, I'm getting emotional, heck off, because this is something that really had a big impact on me. And then the kicker happens. 2011, sophomore year. I'm not going to name drop. There was this girl that I saw in freshman year of high school. She was in my study hall, and somehow her and got mixed into a group of people that I was hanging out with. And we started talking. And for some odd reason, she became closer and closer to me. I have no idea why. It's probably because one of my best friends was her best friend. And it got to the point where she was being very flirtatious. She would, and this is something that she's done to like multiple guys. She acted like she liked me. And for someone who was already emotionally on edge, that was not fun. We'd go to art class and I'd sit in a seat and I'd have like this much space in the seat behind me for the back of it. And she would sit in the same seat that I was in behind me and lay her head on my shoulders and like hug me. And then someone talked me into going into sophomore prom because only junior and seniors can go, and I got invited by an upperclassman so I could go. She ditched her date and hung out with me all night long. She slow danced with me, put her head on my shoulders, and I was thinking, this is the first time that I'm ever feeling this emotional connection with someone. Finally, after years and years and years, a girl likes me. It's over. I found her. Except my emotions were blinding me from the kind of person that she was. She wasn't a Christian. She wasn't really a good person. And she had played this game with other guys and I ignored it. And I wrote her this big old love letter saying, would you go out with me? And she wrote me one back. It was about a page and a half long. And she said, I don't feel the same way about you. And it broke me. I remember reading that in health class and just dying inside. And it took me forever to get over that. And like I said, I've dealt with pornography, addiction, recovery. I would use pornography to cover up the emotional sadness that loneliness brought. And then when I felt depressed about being sad emotionally, I would use goofy stuff like love songs on YouTube to make me so depressed that I wouldn't want to watch porn. So back in the day, I think in like the 2010s or something, it was a big trend to like take these love songs like NSYNC and Celine Dion and stuff, and then take anime fan art, not like the sketchy stuff where it was like boyfriend and girlfriend stuff and they'd make slideshows. I would watch the crap out of those, hoping that it would drown out any temptation I had to watch pornography. And then that would hurt me, so I would freaking watch pornography to get over, to drown out the feeling of loneliness. And it was just a toxic cycle. And at some point I said, I can't do this anymore. So here's what I did. I started getting in the Word and I started looking up pastors I looked up to for help on relationship stuff and whatnot, until I found Mark Driscoll. Get a drink of water. And Mark Driscoll was doing a video on how to deal with loneliness. He said, if you're a single guy, especially Christians, do this. Get you a blue notebook. Well, mine was blue. Get you a notebook and write in it as if you were talking to your future spouse. So I did. I went to Walmart. I picked up if I would have known how important that thing would have been to me, I would have picked a little bit of a nicer notebook. But I just grabbed like the first notebook that I found. And I just started writing and writing and writing as if I was talking to my wife. Page after page of scribbled really big, where are you? I miss you so bad. I want you so bad. God, where are you? And I would sit in my car and like scream at the top of my lungs at like midnight coming home from my friend's house, just screaming, where are you? And I didn't think about this until a few years ago. When I was sitting in my car was pointed directly at her house, east, towards Hillsborough. So it's like, in a weird sense, God was always saying, just go that way and you'll find her. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and waited, and I didn't compromise. And it sucked because there was a couple of times in between those few years where I ran into that girl that messed me up in high school. And we never did anything sexual. We never even held hands or kissed. It was that kind of freaking mind game. And every time I ran into her, it was like going straight back to that prom sophomore year of high school. And I was in like 20, 21 years old. And it would break me. And I waited and I waited 5 years. That doesn't sound like a long time. But there's some people today that can't go 5 days without being in a relationship. I went 5 years of really not dating. I went on like a few dates, but like almost like one or two, and I was like, these are not the right people for me. And I waited, and I wrote in that journal, and I talked to my wife through a notebook. Then one day at my church, I see 2-3 people walk in. I think we were playing a show that I'd never seen before. It was a man and a woman, and there was a young girl in between them. And there she was. Like I said, this might sound dumb because, I mean, this goes to show you how much this meant to me. There she was. After years and years of waiting, God put her in my life at the perfect time. And I did my very best to prepare myself. I read marriage books. I watched as many sermons on dating as I could. And I got myself ready to be a husband. Anyway, we talked for a while, and I played a few more shows, and she was there, and then we hung out a few times. And I remember I was driving my HHR that had a automatic shifter lever, whatever you call it, on the, I can't remember if it was the handle, if it was the foot, the armrest, but she was riding next to me. And I was it was a dumb thing. I was moving my hand closer and closer to hers, and then finally she grabbed my hand. And that was the first time I had felt that closure since that girl in high school laid her head on my shoulder. Except this time it was genuine. This time it was genuine. I never want to forget those times. Because it's those times that give me patience and strength when I deal with mental temptation, when I deal with anger, when I get mad at my wife because she didn't do the dishes. I can never forget this feeling, and I don't ever want to. So if you're dealing with loneliness, here's how you deal with it. Get your notebook and start writing to your wife everything that you would say to her in person, and maybe some things that you would never say to her in person. Because when I started dating my wife, we were boyfriend and girlfriend. I initially planned on giving her that book when we got married. I gave it to her like a week and a half after we started dating. Give it to her when you finally meet her. And she can write in it too. My wife wrote in my book. If you're going through loneliness, just know that you're not alone. just know that I've been there. It was not fun. It was not easy, but you can get through it. God will be with you. He will be your comforter. He will give you strength and a fresh anointing and grace in those dark hours when you're by yourself and all you want to do is feel the warm embrace of a woman's hand in yours. And just be patient. God, you've got to be patient. You cannot grab at the first thing that comes, because trust me, there is, especially now that I look back and I talk to people that I used to hang out with, I could have had sex with a lot of women, especially some of the ones that I work with that wouldn't have cared. And I said no, because I wanted a ring on my finger and not just 10 minutes of fun. So if you're going through loneliness, I'm praying for you. And you're not alone. There's someone out there for you, because there was someone out there for me. This is going to sound kind of dumb and maybe wimpy, but you can heck off. My wife and I's song is 1,000 Years by Christina Perri. And the reason that song means so much to me is from the day I asked God to put that woman in my life, I loved her. And if by the will of God, I hope to God she dies before me, because I don't want her to be alone, I'll love her after. I've loved her for 1,000 years, and I'll love her for 1,000 more. Before I even knew her, I loved her. Just be patient. Whether you're a guy or a girl, you'll find somebody, because I did. God will put someone into your life. All you have to do is ask him, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So that's my story. I'm going to try to get through my day now, because I have to go to work, and I got to ride with my boss in this passenger seat. And I've been crying, and my nose is stopped up. By the way, smoking the last little bit of this Peterson Sherlock Holmes. I'm going to be sad when it's gone, but I can just always order more. So if you're going through loneliness, just praise Jesus, be patient, pray to God, and you'll get through it. The Lord never leaves us nor forsakes us, and he will give us the desires of our heart if you just ask. And I'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a good day.